Hey boys and girls, welcome back. Got a different pattern here for you today, something that I've been kind of working on, still working on. What we see here is a cased caddis called Two Lick Caddis. I see a lot of these up on a creek, a local creek called Two Lick. And these, last time I was up there, were just everywhere. And you don't really see something as large as this, at least typically I don't, as far as a cased caddis on Lohana. Usually, you know, they're probably about a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and not something as big as this. This one, you know, you're looking over 1 inch long, most cases, at least the ones that I could see. I got a video here of the real bug that, you know, I'll show you here once we get into things. But essentially, to go back to kind of what we've been working with, some thin skin. That's what I have up here in the front. Just have a 3mm bead. The legs that you see here are pheasant tail. And in the back, I have a Semper Fly product. It's yarn. You know, it's just called Dirty Bug yarn. It's got all kinds of different colors and shades on it, and you can see that it's a little bit fuzzy. That's kind of why I decided to go with this. Some of the casings that you see, mostly sticks and rocks and bugs, pieces of leaf, you know, there's no really one material that they're building these cases out of. And you know, this mottled type color with browns and greens and things like that, you know, looks good. The problem that you run into is the size. You know, what I have here is, you know, a size 12. This is Firehole 718 as far as the hook goes. As far as the bead goes, this is just like a black nickel, a black color. Here is that Dirty Bug yarn. For the nymph skin, this one's translucent because I do color it and coat it, and some black pheasant tail. Also, at the very end here, I have some Solar Res black markers that you use to color it. I got yellows and browns, and just a piece of yarn that I don't even know what it was from. It was from my leftover bag, and just using this to build the bulk up here a little bit. You want it kind of consistent, but the problem you run into is this hook gap, you know, so you really don't want to crowd that too much, and you want to keep the size down, you know, also to try to be as consistent as you can with the original. So let's go ahead and get started here, and we'll start throwing this stuff on the hook. A lot of different things with this bug that you know, tend to take a little bit of time. You know, what we want to do first is get our thread on here. I just have Semper Fly black that I'm using with this. Change my glasses. I want to go back to almost the hook point, probably about here, before you start tying stuff on, because you want to leave room for that nymph skin. But you want it to be a little bit bulkier, and it all depends on how you tie that stuff on, whether you stretch it, you know, whether you just put it on loosely. I tie this on, this is the bottom material, tie that on to just about the drop, a little bit past the drop. I'm putting this extra thing of yarn in here. It just seems to make it a little bit easier to taper it. And then I'll just cover it with that Dirty Bug yarn. Okay, nymph skin. Get your little piece of nymph skin. Got a little tag off of there. We're gonna tie this in. Once we get that tied in, I'm gonna stretch this back. Now when we're tying this nymph skin on, essentially we want the bug to be covered a little bit so it looks like it's coming out of the casing. And we also want to build up that little bit of a bump in the back there that looks like, you know, part of the curve that you're going to run into when you're dealing with a caddis or something trying to wiggle its way out of a casing. Okay, we're going to tie that off. Now with this nymph skin, I always make those first couple of wraps a little bit tighter, and then I'll ease up on the pressure. This first bit we're going to be covering up anyway, but if you lay these on here nice and loose, you get some really good segmentation, and you can work with building up the bulk a little bit in the right places. You can kind of see how it's almost already got a ridge there that it's trying to come over. And as we go closer to the front, you know, we want this bug to be prominent, so those last couple of wraps, once we get up towards the head, we want to increase the tension on this a little bit, just so that we can taper into that head, if you can see that okay. And the last wrap I put on there, I'll really tighten this down, just so that I can keep that a little bit thinner. Which way your string's gonna go. Tie that behind. Take up some slack on this new bobbin. I haven't figured it out yet. All right, we're really gonna seat that down. Then we're gonna come in and trim that off. Okay, we're gonna put a couple more binding wraps in there, working it backwards just a touch. Make sure that stays down. Okay. Get that out of the way. Now again, when we're coloring these things, you know, I'm gonna color it up and put, you know, some hard as nails on it here, just to help with the color and to help it set a little bit. We're gonna color it both directions with this yellow. You can kind of see the effect of all the ink getting in between there. Making those segments look Okay. And we're gonna get our brown, and we're just gonna make one strip right down the top. Like that. Okay. Let that dry up. And this is that hard as nails. Really having some good luck with this as far as how it's making the bug look. And like I said in the last video, paint it from the top down over the sides, and it'll start to bleed some of that brown into the mix. You can see how the brown is starting to get in those little segmentations. We want to do this the whole way around, even though we're going to cover up half of it. Okay, that looks pretty good. Give that a few minutes to dry. Okay, we're back here. Now let's get our legs in place. Now when you're dealing with pheasant tails, most times, you know, if we need 3 of them, we're gonna pull all 3 off at the same time. I would tell you not to do that for this bug, because we want to have the little claws, I don't know what else I call them, you know, on the butt end of the feather. And we want to use that. I mean, they kind of look like grabbers, I guess is, yeah, for the scientific term. And we're going to tie these right on the bottom. So let's get this turned upside down. We're just going to lay these across the hook, right behind the head, and let it hang there. And you can see what these are looking like here. We're going to trim those little things off to a degree, just to show you what it looks like. I try to leave a little bit of that on there. It just looks different than, you know, this side is going to be. And I'm going to say leave the ones with the claw a little bit longer. Cut the other ones to a little bit shorter of that. Okay, that's one. We're gonna put 3 on because we got 6 legs. And the most important thing is that first wrap. Always trying to keep that string behind them because we want them to go forward. Watch that video, you know, if you want to watch that over again. These things are pretty friggin' creepy looking, you know, when you really start to get into some detail on them. Okay, let's trim that. Trim the tags off of these. There you go. All right, now we're going to tie this off. I'll show you how to bend those. And we're going to cut that off. So we don't have to really do this now, but essentially, if you get a good pair of tweezers and you grab the top of the butt and just start pushing them down one at a time, each one will like put a little crease in it, as so. And kind of get different type of an effect out front there when you brush them all forward. That looks pretty good. Okay, now for the next part, we're gonna put just a couple wraps of this. I don't know if this is really necessary, but I want to try to build up the top of this a little bit more, but still preserve, you know, the hook gap that we're dealing with here. Let's get our string tied back on here on the back side. I'm just gonna loop this once it's secure on the hook. Gonna work that forward a little bit because the tie-off point is probably gonna be, I would guess, maybe there. Okay. So this string, the second string, I don't know if this is really necessary. You might be able to do it a better way, but this seemed like the easiest way to try to build up that bulk without having to wrap over and back with, you know, that other yarn that we have here, this yarn here. All right, we're gonna take that up to a little bit in front of the hook point. Tie that off. I don't like to squish that nymph skin so much. We want it to be thick, you know, right here at the connection point. So, and we want this casing to look like it's encasing the bug. This one I'm putting on a little bit tighter. Especially right where the hook gap is. Keep catching that leg. Come on. And you can stagger these wraps just to add a little bit better color, different color, something like that. Now we're gonna come over the top of this, tie this down, but I don't want my string on the nymph skin. Try to tighten that up back here. Trim that off. I'm gonna whip finish this back here so that we don't mess with those legs. Make sure you don't cut your legs off when you cut your string off. Okay, almost done. So now we're gonna get some black Solares, because we want to fill this gap and secure all these things, these legs up here. But it also, you know, when these things are still in the casing, they don't have their wings or anything like that. So when you look at that video, pay attention to right behind the head. It's super dark, almost looks like it has, you know, spikes or something along that line. And you have to be careful with this Solares. I don't know why, but it will run. basically just painting a pattern on the back of this, covering that first segment of the nymph skin there. That should be good. Always turn this upside down to cook it, just so that it kind of flows into that gap there behind the head, because it will do that. Could probably do this on a size 10 and get away with it. Starting to look at a little bit too big of a hook. There's still a good gap in here, you know, when you look at it, so pay attention to that. Another thing I do sometimes when we're dealing with these pheasant tail legs, and these ones don't look too bad, but if you take your pheasant tail, I'll pull another one off here. Okay, maybe. And you stroke it backwards. Maybe you can see that. It looks like all the fibers are standing up. It's a little bit more prominent on the front of the leg. Yeah, don't forget to do that before you tie those on there. Just a neat little effect. Makes them look like they have grabbers. So, okay guys, there you go. Two Lick Caddis. Tie some up. Hopefully in the spring they'll be catching you some fish. And let me know how you do, okay? Any questions, send me a message. Thanks for stopping by, guys. We'll see you.